Feel free to introduce yourself, OsiBro.
What's up, guys?
Yep.
Just chilling.
So right now, what we're gonna be doing, we're finally trying out Min Min. We were playing some games with the gang today. Me and my friends on Discord. I'm finally sitting down and actually playing with Min Min, the newest DLC fighter. We got Spring Stadium, and I'm excited to play her because she looks really interesting. Look at her. She looks so cool. I want to see these skins, though. I want to see these color alts. Come on, there we go. Oh! Oh, I think I found the one I'm going to use. It's got a red and black. Oh, that's like kind of reverse. Ooh, okay. Look at all these. What do you like? What do you like, OsiBro?
I like the pink one. But
The pink one? This one?
yeah, I like
All right.
that one's really cute.
We'll choose that one. All right, so we're going to go against a level 1 computer. Normally I would sit in training, which I think I'm going to do, but normally what I do when I'm trying out new characters is I'll play against a really low-level computer, I'll fuck around with them, and then I'll sit in a trading mode and see how their combos work. So, oh wow, wow, okay, so she seems very light. Oh my god, that reach! That did 16 damage! Oh my god.
That's, like, actually insane.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, that's just a basic melee?
Yeah, some of these are smash attacks. These are tilts. Wait, you can use tilts while you move? Okay, so she can use tilt moves while she's mobile.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, she's interesting.
That's kind of like broken.
Just a little bit.
I feel like.
So the idea that Sakurai, the creator of Smash, likes to do is he likes to make very unconventional characters. Wow, that reach. Oh, wow.
That kind of reminds me of this one guy. I'm trying to remember what the developer is for Riot. But he made like a new character that's like, I think it's a Phelios. And like literally the most unconventional character or ADC in the entire game. Like, it's so complex that like I literally cannot play him out of any character. But he is OP, if you know how.
Yeah, that's what Min Min's feeling like. Look at this. What the hell is that?
What?
That power, that's insane. In the right hand, she would be disgusting.
I'm just thinking, like, I'm watching this character right now, and you playing as Min Min, and I literally hate playing with you normally.
You think this would be even worse?
That would literally make me hate you so much. Wow.
The unfortunate thing is her moves are kind of slow. I mean, I would say that's fortunate, but I feel like between me using said moves, this is a lower level computer, so they're probably not used to trying to air dodge or avoid certain combos, whereas higher level computers are. So I feel like that's kind of a blow to Min Min. Like now is that there might be a bit of a difference in the way that Min Min's moves actually react. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna bump up to level 5 computer. Now this is why it would be great to have other people to play with. Not that I'm saying playing with me online, but playing local, because it's a real struggle to try to actually play this game against computers because it's not at all the same. They just don't function the same. And of course, I go against the Pichu, probably the smallest target in this game next to Jigglypuff. So that's going to make this whole situation very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think that like a big problem with like most fighter games is like the latency issue.
There
like,
is
anything with like inputs is like really hard.
Yeah, I have to agree. Most fighting games always gives that, and I don't know why, because you got to figure when you play a shooter like Halo or Call of Duty, you might feel some lag, but I feel like the latency isn't nearly as bad as fighting games. Like, we've played Mortal Kombat together where the latency was just downright bad, where you felt every move come out after you actually initially inputted said move. Smash is, of course, one big, not an exception to the rule, probably one of the worst when it comes to that kind of thing. But
Yeah, I think like Mortal Kombat and Smash would be the most frustrating games for me to play if there's any latency issue whatsoever.
even Soul Calibur, when I played Soul Calibur, it was kind of that same
Oh,
idea.
wow, I forgot about Soul
Yeah,
Calibur.
Soul Calibur, I
Yeah,
love Soul
that's
Calibur,
bad.
but that's one of those games where I can't play online, and I have, and I had to play like shitty characters because I couldn't do my combos properly.
I feel like it's both because like the server issue, like they definitely don't have strong enough servers for it. Or at least like regional. I don't know if they have regional servers for most fighting games, but like maybe it's just because of how many people actually play them, so like they don't pay for like these really like high tech servers or
Yeah,
like
I mean,
whatever gives you better latency.
Nintendo never really wanted to invest in that kind of thing anyhow. I mean, Nintendo's not that big into online gaming and that big into competitive gaming in any regard, so I can't say I expect that from them. Um, but I do know what you mean. So I know you don't follow it at all, but Super Smash Bros. Melee, it has a very big following, even more than Smash Ultimate. That game is, 19 years. No, I'm sorry. It's 19 years old. Came out in 2001. Um, and it's still one of the most popular competitive fighting games that currently exists. Now, what's been going on is, especially through COVID and everything that's been going on with all that, a lot of the people who are trying to play competitive Smash were really frustrated with the whole fact that you can't play competitive Smash Ultimate online or even Melee because they have designated servers for that are fan made. It's just still a major pain in the ass. So what they decided to create was something, I believe it's called Knockback, or I think it's called Slippy. So basically, the idea is that they take the game and they actually made a better server for it, which had very little to no lag whatsoever. There is slight amounts, but even the competitive pros who actually play, they've come out and said like you barely feel it, and that's compared to playing Smash Ultimate, which I mean, let's be honest, like there's so much wrong with it, that to the point where like me, I don't play this game online. Through all of COVID, I have barely played this game online, and when I had, it was trash. I couldn't do it. I couldn't play it at all. So
Yeah, that's a shame though, because it's like for any content creator, especially like I know in your case specifically, just because I moderate or I did moderate your server for a while, like we had people that wanted to play with you specifically, and like we couldn't even really do it because like online is just not viable,
it's not
especially in any competitive fashion, unless you're
exactly.
doing like you said the private dedicated servers, and
Yeah,
it's
that was the big issue with that, is that I wanted to try to play with those people, and I would try, but it didn't quite translate quite the same as I was hoping for it to actually do. So um, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. So all right, when I go into training mode though. Normally the computer is, just chilling. It's not doing anything. So I like to pick a heavy character that's a bigger hitbox, and just like to test out how some of these moves work. Um, Now, great thing about training mode is that you can try all these combos, and then when you're ready, you can actually reset. For this, you'll reset with L and R plus A. You'll see that in the you'll see next to quit training it says L plus R plus A, and that's how you reset the positions. So say I do a combo, and fuck, I messed it up. I can quickly do this, and I can then right away try a different combo.
this is like literally what I did for hours with like Ermac and like Scorpion and MK9, I think it
Oh,
was.
I'm sure. You used
Yeah.
to beat my ass in that game, especially. All
It
right.
was like the one fighting game that I actually wanted to get competitive in, and the servers were just so trash that you just couldn't do it. It kind of is a shame. Like, I don't want to bring it back to like the servers too much or like latency, but like, I don't know how like pro players and like even for you, like you do competitive, like just to have to try to deal with that, or just have to like drive two places just to play competitive, like I'm trying to think of like how much money that they could make, or Nintendo in general too, with Smash, like specifically. Um, if they just made like really nice servers for a competitive play, added in an elo system, at least for competitive players to practice before they go into these tournaments and stuff that are private.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a good point. What are they willing to spend to make that kind of money because that's the thing. If they had prioritized doing that, especially for this kind of competitive scene, there's a chance that Nintendo would make a lot more money. They only charge it's $25 for a year subscription to Nintendo Switch Online, which isn't bad when you compare it to like say Xbox or PlayStation. Um,
Hmm.
but that's the thing is like they don't really prioritize like when you consider that a lot of people are probably only playing Smash Bros. Or okay, they're probably only paying $20 to play Smash Bros. Online. And when you consider that the online functionality for the game is pretty lackluster, like many people are probably going to be unwilling to get it the next year or so. So it kind of puts it in Nintendo's ballpark. Like, what are you going to do next? How are you going to improve what you currently have? And how are you going to fix it? Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, I think in like for my case, like I don't have like a Switch or anything, but if I was going to have a Switch, I would definitely have Smash. But I would not be paying for a subscription because I know for a fact that a Smash server is not going to run as smooth as I wanted to, and I normally play with you, and I want to get better, and I just feel like I wouldn't be able to actually play you at like any kind of good competitive skill, or
I
to even
understand
really
that.
train if I'm having a hard time. So why would I pay for it online? And I think from a marketing standpoint, Nintendo's actually really missing a lot of potential sales for their games by not having that kind of compatibility for online play. But
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. That's one thing that they've received criticism over the years. They don't really support, Smash tournaments as much as, well, for instance, when Smash really started to get into that competitive scene in Melee back in, mid 2000s, Nintendo wasn't really supportive of it. The creator Sakurai wasn't really didn't exactly create the game for that. It was meant for like party playing purposes. It was the fact that people actually had the demand for it and actually were willing to learn aspects of the game that it gained as much traction as it did. If you want a little more context with that, I would definitely recommend watching the Super Smash Bros. Documentary. It's really cool. It is a bit lengthy, but it really goes into how the Smash scene was created, and it's pretty cool when you consider that like this game, it was made in 2001, and it still was able to gain that much of attraction between people who are you know just trying to play the game and have some fun, and you get to really see it evolve over the years, and that's really what helped shape the community for what it is today, which is really awesome. But I know exactly what you mean. Like, I feel like that if Nintendo were to prioritize that a bit more than what they currently do, which isn't much, of course, then maybe you know things could be better for him. But I don't know. I really don't.
yeah, it's like really interesting you say that, just because of the fact that like Smash, the way it plays, if it's very in depth with your movements, like very good timing moves. It feels like it was meant to be played at a competitive scale sometimes,
Hmm.
and to hear that it wasn't meant for that at all is a little bit shocking because like it plays so well, so smooth.
Right.
As long as you're playing local, um, it doesn't feel like a game that's like you could get for free or 10, $15 that they go in depth with all the moves like I'm not an expert on the terminology, but just like dodging, I think teching was one of the terms used.
Yes. So teching is when I get hit by a move and I'm in free fall, which free fall is when you take some damage and then when you're about to land on the stage or maybe even the side of the stage. If you hit a wall, you'll click the shield button and then you'll automatically jump back to your feet. Otherwise, there is air dodging in the sense where like you move and you actually do a dodge in the air. If you do a simple dodge in the air, you'll just have like a quick dodge where you can avoid a move. But there is a way you can also, and this has a lot of competitive viability, is when you're by a fucking ledge and whatnot, you can literally just air dodge into a ledge, air dodge a move in a particular direction to help you land on a particular, um, you know, uh, land, ground, whatever, so on and so forth. There's a lot more. So the big thing is, since we were talking about a lot about melee, there is a lot more competitive terminology and tech involved with that game as opposed to Smash Bros. Ultimate. Um, for that, I honestly, if you would be down, I would totally teach you. You don't have to learn it by any means, but I can totally show you the difference of how that game correlates and how different it is just compared to most other Smash games. But considering you were even if you are remotely interested in learning how it plays, um, referring to that actual, service that fans were able to create that was only just released, there is a possibility that you can learn with me. We can play some games through that service through, Super Smash Brothers Melee or possibly even Project Plus if that has the functionality for it. But I don't believe it does, but, it's always worth trying. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to think about. But like you said, with just bringing it back a little bit more to the competitive feel of the game, and like Nintendo as a whole, I love party play. I think Nintendo definitely has like that market pretty much cornered. Like party playing is one of the best things about Nintendo,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's their market right there. Yeah.
It is, but like it's not enough for me to buy a Switch, and that's the problem. Is like as like someone that has been more on the fence about consoles, specifically Nintendo is like one that's pretty much not even the conversation for me, unfortunately. And I love so little games with Nintendo, despite having party play and stuff. Smash would be one of those things. It's just like a simple thing for a competitive gamer, like being able to play a good competitive feeling game like Smash, either online or offline, really. If they just had more of a selection of games such as Smash that felt like that well in depth, like I would buy probably a Switch in an instant.
Yeah.
So
I'm intrigued to hear you say that because I didn't really know if you had that interest. Because in the past you've expressed that, you can't stand playing Smash with me because I always kick your ass, which, I get because you never.
yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's only because you never really got as in depth in the game as I did. But I definitely do feel like if you had played it a bit more, you'd be more willing to play and learn to that degree. Because listen, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say I was great when I first started, especially in the competitive scene. I had a lot to learn. Um, but you'd be surprised to know, especially if you have experience playing fighting games in general, it's very easy to learn the ins and outs of the game, the basic mechanics, and that's why a lot of people recommend playing certain characters. One of which, like Mario, is a very easy character to learn, and really gives you the understanding of how to play the game with basic fundamentals. But considering you've played fighting games in the past, it's probably a lot easier for you to correlate with even a more difficult character. So, for instance, I remember when we played Smash 4 together, you actually played Bayonetta for a little bit, and I noticed that you were able to get a lot of Bayonetta's tech pretty easily. And that's just because you understand how each move worked and how you're able to combo certain moves together. And that was just from your experience with playing other games as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think that's because Mortal Kombat it felt very similar to playing Little Mac and Bayonetta, actually, and it just so happened that those became my mains because I was able to pick them up. But I wouldn't really say either of them was very difficult to pick up, and maybe that's just me. Mm-hmm. But they felt simple. I would say Little Mac way more so than Bayonetta. But Little Mac was just simple. You just go in, you fight, you dodge, you move out of the way, and then you rush back in and you hit again. And then he had a couple good combos, but it felt easy for me to pick up. And I don't know if that's because I felt similar to a Mortal Kombat character in that aspect.
Yeah, that's a possibility. A lot of characters have different functionalities and play styles, so there's a chance that maybe that kind of correlated between each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the games function a little different with the standpoints of how the characters move and how they control. But there are some characters who maybe you had more experience with. I remember you playing Ermac. Ermac, if I remember correctly, used a lot of ranged attacks, and Bayonetta does have some. To some degree, but a lot of those moves also kind of comboed between one another. For instance, I know that her, some of her smash attacks actually were gave you that kind of boot. It basically showed a boot in the air. I barely played the Bayonetta games themselves, but I know that you were able to combo certain smash attacks for Bayonetta with other projectile attacks as well. So it's one of those things when you have experience with playing a more difficult Maybe difficult isn't the right term to use here, but other fighting games kind of help you learn and acknowledge how to play a game like Smash. I know that some people recommend that if they're ever willing to try out Smash, that they actually try out a game like Street Fighter, which requires a lot more patience um, and learning to learn, characters and how the game functions as a whole. Whereas this game, it's meant to be a party game, and while it has its own competitive functionality, it also has its own unique, flair that's a little bit easier to pick up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the game feels way more party-like when you actually have all the items on. But as
Oh
soon as
yeah,
you like turn everything off and you go into like tournament rules, like the game feels so much more competitive, and I can see why they made the tournament rules around that. But
yeah, absolutely. That's a big thing. Is it really only the competitive scene only really gains traction when people realize that playing with all the items on, made the game a whole lot different. But when you really sit down and you play a 1v1 with two players that really understand how the characters work and their functionalities, the game becomes a whole lot different. I can even send you a few videos of a great example of how that happened in Melee, and how like the dynamic of the game just completely changes, between the different kind of play styles that they have, and that's just through using items and through not using items whatsoever. The game just completely changes, which is awesome.
yeah, and that's got to be like a reason why Smash hasn't died like as like a series. Like, no matter how like they update it or like they make a new Smash, like you always have the ability to change the game in a way where it feels fresh. Like you add in items if it's a party game. You remove them, put a certain amount of stock, and then you're back to doing 1v1s in a competitive setting, and it
Yeah.
definitely gives the game a much better feel, so much more viability and
Yeah,
replayability.
exactly. Some people prefer to have that party style where they're just playing with items. Some people like to just be able to play with the characters themselves. I mean, when I started playing Smash Brothers, it was in Melee, and I used items all the time. I would, play with the Pokeballs, and I figured out how to pick up items in the air and freaking chuck them at people. And then I remember playing with people in intermediate school or middle school, and then being like, oh hey, let's play with no items on. I'm like, all right, yeah, and then actually being able to play the game a whole lot different. Um, and that's kind of how that whole play style really changed for me at least, and for a lot of people, because it changes the game and it really helps you focus on how to play a certain character.
Hmm.
So, and that's the great thing with Smash is there's so many options of what you can do. There's so much customizability in how you want to play the game. You don't have to conform and just use items or not use items whether or not you want to, because you can play the game from a competitive standpoint like that, or even a casual one, and that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, I think like one of the big things that I disliked most about competitive gaming in general, lately mostly, is playing games where you go in and they're constantly updating the characters to fix or like change their abilities to keep them fresh. Air
To
quotes.
keep them fresh or balance them.
To keep them fresh, like to give them like a different role or play style and messing with like the way that they play or like they originally played. So like balancing, of course, is normally done by damage values and stuff, where they change like range or effectiveness and damage drop off, and that's typically how most competitive games work. But when you start changing characters and reworking them like they do in say like League of Legends or Overwatch, I feel like that really hinders the competitive scene, in my opinion, and that's just because like let's talk about like how you'd put so much time into like a single character, like or was it Groki? I think, or I'm really bad at the names for some of the things. Um, but like if you put in a lot of time for a character, you're trying to learn them inside and out and hone your skills. But if they change their complete play style after a certain point, it just feels like all that work's gone,
Hmm.
and you could completely change your standing in a competitive setting by
Yeah.
doing that. And a good example for that, for me, like I put a lot of time into League of Legends, probably hundreds of hours, a lot of money into skins. Um, and like I used to play Vel'Koz, which is one of the hardest characters to learn at the time that he came out. and I was really, really good with him. And I played him almost every single match for days. And then they reworked him after I took a leave from League because of toxic community.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back and he was just completely different. And now people are playing him as a support, and I was like, well, the meta changed. That happens, like your role changes, and it's not really a big deal. And then I played him, and I was like, his play style just feels completely different. And just the way like a character can play out can mess up someone that's competitive or good with a certain character. And I don't know if that's a good thing. Maybe they want new blood in competitive scenes, but it sucks for the people that need to take the time to learn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a big game is Overwatch. That, I mean, from my personal experience, where the characters can change over the course of several seasons. When we played back on console, what feels like ages ago, the game was a whole lot different. I mean, Zenyatta. Zenyatta was one of the best healers in the game. And now he's decent, but he doesn't do, like, he's a lot more frail. He really can't take as much damage as he once was able to do. God dang, that rage was insane. It's so stupid how bad that range is. It's funny because when Corn came out in Smash 4, I mained Corn for a bit. My brother was like, "Oh my gosh, range!" Because I could literally kill from quote across the field. Yeah, he has no idea what's in store for Min Min. But yeah, that's the big thing is they make these changes to these characters, and they just play so much different. So it kind of feels like all that work you put towards a character to learn how they play, it's almost meaningless, because then you're like, oh well, now that character's trash because they nerfed him. Now I need to figure out how to play somebody completely new.
Yeah, and like, the funny thing is, like, for me, like, I don't really care too much about nerfs. It's the reworks that I really hate. Like, well, take, if anyone plays Overwatch, of course, and they're watching this, like, they'll know, like, Symmetra, was overworked, I think,
Oh,
twice. I
yeah.
think 2 times since the time period that I played it first, and then I stopped. I picked it up again, and I stopped, and picked it up again. Symmetra changed every time during that. Then meanwhile, you have Reinhardt, who has been exactly the same since the first season.
Yeah.
He has not changed. He's been nerfed and buffed on and off, I think, but he's never been reworked. And I think in Symmetra's case, it was probably a good thing. Symmetra was a little bit OP. Yeah, it's not cool when you're like, I'm gonna pick up my favorite game, my favorite character that I played a lot with, and then it's like they have all new movesets, and then you see the characters that you didn't like, and they have the same movesets, and I think for like lower tiered characters, like maybe that's when specific companies like Riot, whatever, should be reworking their characters, because instead of trying to balance down a higher tier, I feel like then they should just take a look at the movesets for the bottom tier.
Yeah.
And of course, even just adding in new characters, that's completely fine, and that will change metas entirely, or how
Yes,
you approach
it
certain
does.
situations.
Because as soon as you add a new character, it can change the fact, like, hey, this character's a counter to this overpowered character.
Exactly.
Like a great example to compare it to is Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon, a huge typing that was really dominating the metagame for competitive was the Dragon type. And in Gen 6, oh my god, this Donkey Kong computer is fucking my ass right now. But they added the Fairy type, and that was really a great counter to the Dragon type to kind of balance things out a little bit. And now the Fairy type is one of the best types in the game because it can counter so many different things.
Yeah, so I would think then what they need to do is add in a type that better counters fairies.
You would think,
I
yeah.
don't play enough to really give that opinion, and I think there's another pet peeve I have about some companies is like they'll take the opinions of new players into consideration.
Yeah.
When they're doing balancing stuff, and it really throw things off.
Yeah.
I
They
can
don't
throw
take
Epic Games under the
into
bus for that with Gears of War.
Yeah, they don't take the feedback of their players that have been there for a while. They're taking the feedback of the people who haven't been there, and they're kind of just playing the game like, oh, I find this to be unfair. I think this should be changed. When really it's kind of like, oh well, I haven't played this game enough to understand well what to do in this particular situation, and I'm going to complain about it because I've seen that happen in several games before. In fact,
Yeah,
Smash is one of them.
yeah, like they want to have a competitive scene for their games, and then they end up, instead of trying to balance it in a way that makes the game better, they just completely destroy the competitive scene by either making something completely useless or not. And it's just like a whole thing of going rounds to balance, dumb down, or make something stronger. And they never allow players to actually just perfect their skill rather than just like, you know, accommodating for something. At least what I'm trying to say is like kind of hard to describe, but I think you understand.
No, I understand. Definitely. So.
Yeah, because I remember specifically Gears of War is like the Nasher shotgun in the original. It used to be a little bit insane, and the power was. I mean, it's a short range weapon, of course. So the power being really strong in short range, it makes sense, and it makes you approach like a team very differently than you
Yeah.
would if you didn't have it.
Yeah.
And of course, then what they decided to do was nerf the damage and the range to the point where it's pretty much just a useless paperweight in your side pocket unless you were point blank and bodying someone. And you could pretty much just run up with someone with a chainsaw and kill them at that point. And the point of the Nash shotgun being strong short range was so you could combat a chainsaw. And they just decided to listen to their new players or people complaining, and instead they destroyed their competitive scene, and I stopped playing. For an example. So, yeah, I think there's a moment where there might be too much tampering, but I don't know how it is with Smash.
They really don't give that many updates to the game. If they really ever balance something, it's more or less like this character's like can't do a move. Like this character's move comes out in a few more frames. It kind of makes it so the move doesn't come out as fast, which can kind of nerf a character. Or maybe like this character will take more damage when doing this in this particular situation. So it's not really anything. It doesn't seem major, but a lot of times they try to give those kind of balancing things to change. Not just a character that needs to be nerfed, but buff a character that can counter a character a little better.
Yeah, I think that's actually something interesting that you bring up, because I'm pretty sure with Smash, every time I picked up the game, it never felt to me like even if there was a new character, it never felt to me like the game was different in any way. Like I could pick up an old character that I like to play, and I felt like I was starting where I left off. And I think that's one of my favorite things about Smash is no matter how long it takes for me to get back into the game or to come back to it, even for a couple matches with you, for instance, like I feel like my skill didn't really get worse or better. It's just I'm back where I started or back where I left off.
It's funny you say that too, because even from a competitive standpoint, I sometimes feel like I come back to the game playing better than what I did when I left. I know it sounds a little weird, but sometimes taking a nice needed break from the game, it kind of helps you get into a better mindset of how to play it in certain situations. And it kind of deletes some of not deletes, but it kind of fixes some of your bad habits that you might have had in the past. Like bad habits, like doing the same sort of get up on top of a certain ledge. Like that's one thing is from a competitive standpoint is ledge guarding is a huge part of how people win games, and you need to understand how to approach ledges differently. So sometimes when I come back after a while, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna mess around with some more stuff, and I'm a little more unpredictable in my playstyle than maybe than what I was if I'm playing on a few consecutive days. That's just one of the many different ways that it kind of differs in that aspect, but. But yeah, the game does play so differently than most other games where it's like, oh yeah, I'm playing Smash. Here are the basic fundamentals of the game, which I understand. This one is used to move around. This one is used to do attacks, and especially if you're playing on the same controller, like a GameCube controller, it's all going to feel for the most part the same. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, sometimes between games it does feel a lot different. Like I would never downgrade and understand and think, oh well, you know what? I'm so good at Smash Ultimate. Let me go back and try Smash 64 because you're gonna be in for a rude awakening when you realize that the old game, does not exactly translate well. And Melee's one big example of that, especially. Um, ooh. I almost had him dead. It's alright, we're using these tickets. If you haven't noticed, I'm playing the classic mode right now to unlock the spirit for Min Min. But
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be right back in just a few moments, and I'll try to remember my thoughts before I
hey, you're
come
fine.
back.
No, honestly, I want to thank you for all the points you've been bringing up, especially. This has been a great conversation, so I'll be here for when you come back. Alright, so now with that done, we were able to complete Min Min's classic mode at 9.3, 852,650 points. It's really not bad, all things considered. I gotta say, it was a little weird. But I figured it out as far as Min Min's concerned. Look at that artwork. Gotta say, I didn't play much ARMS, but when you consider all the characters that they could have implemented in this game, I feel like they made the right decision. I mean, this game didn't really have, as far as DLC is concerned, a lot of representation for a female cast. Like if you look at the last, Fighters Pass, the male characters kind of overshadowed. Like look at these, like Joker, Hero, Banjo Kazooie, Terry, Byleth. Byleth had some female skins, but they didn't really represent any female characters. And I don't want to put that towards Nintendo as like a hey, you need to represent these characters a bit more. Which I mean, more or less, yes. But a lot of the video game industry is kind of I don't even want to say it's geared towards the male audience, but a lot of those characters are male. So I feel like that's something important to remember too. Anyways, OsiBro, you're probably coming in as I'm trying to explain something else.
I am.
Yeah, just talking to the chat right now. But one big thing I was discussing is that Min Min was such an interesting inclusion into this game as a DLC fighter because of the simple fact that there were a lot of different DLC fighters they could have chosen from the ARMS game because they kind of were just like, hey, we're gonna just throw a random ARMS character in here. But it's really nice to know that the character is a female character because I feel like, and a lot of people share that frustration, is that even in this last DLC, the female representation was a bit lackluster. So, for instance, when the game first came out, the roster ended at Incineroar here. That was the initial roster, and then if you pre-ordered the game or no, if I forget what the conditions were, but you were able to unlock Piranha Plant right off the bat, and I believe it was for pre-order. But everything else after there, Joker to Byleth, was all DLC. So as you can see here, they're all male reps. Kazooie is a female character, but even still, but Byleth has a male and female alts. But it kind of felt like the game wasn't really getting any female representation, and that was something that a lot of Smash fans were kind of disappointed about because they wanted more representation from a female cast. But the unfortunate thing is like a lot of these characters, and this isn't Nintendo's fault, this is just the video game industry itself, is that a lot of those characters are, male characters, and I feel like Nintendo, Sakurai and everybody over there at Nintendo is trying to do their best to include those characters, female characters, and more diverse characters. So I definitely feel like Min Min was definitely the right choice, going forward for that kind of cast. So
Yeah, I could agree with that. Like, I think Nintendo is probably one of the better companies, at least for female rep. Like, I could see them getting a little bit of some hate for it, but considering that most of the games that they have like included in Smash, like such as like Sonic and all that, like a lot of the main characters are not female. So trying to just like fit like a female main character is like a little bit more difficult, and implementing Peach and stuff, like in my opinion, is at least like good, but it's still not the same as having like a female lead role included in your game.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, there have been a lot of talks for speculation for what the future characters might be. Uh, I mean, those of course are rumors. Ooh, look at that. That's actually new. We can see what the spirits are for this game. Ooh, heck yeah. Stringman's clear. Now let's try this. We're gonna try some Super Ninja. You can see that. A lot of people are talking about Crash Bandicoot as a potential DLC fighter. That of which I think should be expected. Um, his familiar face. Activision is doing their very best to ensure that that's what's his face. Crash is a still remaining a popular character in that regard, of course. And they are making a new game, which is going to be a good way to kind of reinforce the fact that they're trying to promote Crash as best as they can, considering that he's very popular and the company can make a lot of money just off of him. Let's be honest here. Um, a big talk, which I know you especially would appreciate this, is Doom Guy. There's been a lot of talks about Doom Guy, and I would hope that Doom Guy does make it into Smash. It's either a toss-up between Doom Guy or Master Chief from Halo. Really, I don't know. It could go either way. I would assume more Doom Guy than Halo because Microsoft already has a Microsoft rep with Banjo-Kazooie being owned by them now, so it's really anybody's guess to figure out what's going to happen. There are those speculations, but I think that those are two great characters, two of the most likely characters that we're going to see here in this next Fighters Pass. So
Yeah, I think Doom Guy would be interesting. I definitely would love to see like Crash Bandicoot in a Smash game.
right, wouldn't that be
Um,
interesting? I feel you almost feel like he fits in that kind of scenario.
he does. He fits in the way that the game plays as like a fighter,
Yeah,
just because of how he played in his games.
yeah,
So
absolutely. And the fact that like the cast of the game is these kind of some of them are cute cuddly characters that you kind of grow up with. They're not really mature characters. I mean, there are some, but a lot of them are characters that are recognizable from your childhood. When you think about it, like when you think of Smash Brothers, what character kind of comes to mind? If you think of like Mario or Pikachu or Kirby, those are really recognizable characters from some of the games you probably played as a child.
hmm yeah, that and like I could also see Crash Bandicoot like stages as well.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot that
Like
they can do with that.
yeah, they definitely could fit a lot of Crash series stuff in there. Um, and like I think the same with Doom too. Actually, like some of the Doom, um, the way Doom ran is like almost like a three-dimensional platformer.
Hmm.
There's a lot of verticality and stuff, and I feel like that fits really well with Smash and the way some of the stages work.
Yeah,
And like you could definitely have a Doom Smash stage, and then add in Doom Guy, and you can have fun with it.
yeah, absolutely. I agree. Um, there's a lot that they can do with, and they do that, and they showcase what Nintendo showcases what they can do with all those different franchises. Um, and I feel like that's a really good point. And a lot of people, from at least a competitive standpoint, they kind of look at the characters more than the stages themselves, where they're kind of like, oh well, when we see a DLC fighter, we're going to look more at the stage and what that represents as opposed to the character itself. Take into example what they're trying to introduce with Min Min. Look at the stage here. Is that this stage is trying to represent what ARMS, really contains within their game. They have, to be fair, I know that you've never played ARMS before, but in that stage
hmm
alone, there's a lot of those trampoline kind of things, those spring things to, be able to navigate the stage a little bit quicker and be able to jump on those and, mess around with it a bit. And they do that with a lot of their stages. Splatoon, for example, it has a huge tower of sorts in which to, kind of walk along. Or New Donk City is a stage based on Super Mario Odyssey. Same idea there, in which you're able to move around it so freely, and you can do a lot of stuff to get around the stage that is almost trying to incorporate what you can do within the game itself. Um, so I feel like in a particular instance, if we're talking about a game like Doom, they can add a lot of those kind of features within the stage itself, and they can do a lot with it.
Yeah, and like in the end, if they did that, it's really all they would have to do is just reskin some assets. Like a lot of the mechanics that they already have could kind of like cover the effects of like just like a bounce pad or something like that. Like Doom has like lifts essentially, which are pretty much the same thing. Same thing
Yeah.
with Halo too, and I think yeah, even Sonic as well. So I mean, it's really just all reskinning at that point, and
Yeah, it's a
unique
very
fighting moves
common
for the
thing.
fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very common thing in that regard where it's got those similar properties to that of other games. So I definitely
Yeah.
I definitely feel like a character like Doom Guy. A lot of people have expressed that, oh, we can't see a character like Doom Guy. This is a kid's game. They forget Snake. Snake's from Metal Gear Solid, and Snake was included in Brawl, where he's got an arsenal of just deadly weapons, and they're not bloody and gory. They're showing off. This character can use a rocket launcher. Is it gonna kill you? Kill you? No, they're not gonna showcase that. But there's that stigma that with Doom Guy is gonna come a lot more gore just by representing those kind of characters and items and whatnot. Um,
I mean, you could even like say the same like if you want to make a thought like experiment out of it, you could say like take a look at Samus and like Metroid. Like
yes.
Metroid, like Samus has guns and everything like that, rockets. The difference with the game is, of course, like there just isn't really gore, but yeah, you can still see Samus in Smash. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a Nintendo game.
It is a
Um,
Nintendo game. But if you take away, I mean, if you take away the blood and the gore in a Metal Gear game, and you just kind of make it like it looks like a Nintendo character, what's the real difference between the two characters?
exactly. Like they're pretty much the same thing. It's just Metroid has more like sci-fi-ish guns and stuff like that. But
Yeah. Similar to how Doom Guy works, like the BFG. It's funny because if you consider like an ultimate, like a Final Smash, a character like Doom Guy would probably have as his Final Smash the BFG. You got to wonder how they would censor it. Um,
yeah, that or the railgun, I'd say. would
the
be good.
railgun would be a good alternative as well. Um, but yeah, that's something to consider. What kind of like you said, Samus uses those kind of sci-fi weapons. Doom Guy also kind of uses those kind of sci-fi weapons. The BFG isn't a real gun. Yes, a shotgun might be, but there's also some sort of fictional aspect to the whole thing as well.
Yeah, I think what it really comes down to for Nintendo, probably, and like the company that makes Brawl, is just the pure licensing aspect and the funding to get the license for these characters.
Yeah, it
And if
requires a
that's the
lot.
case,
It does.
the easy solution to that is make better servers. Start exploring competitive play for your games. But
Yeah.
let's just loop it back to the beginning real quick. You want those licensing for these big company characters and faces to broaden your client base or your buyer base, and that's how you would do it. I mean, you have to make a little money first
Yeah.
to acquire those
Absolutely.
licenses, but putting something like Doom Guy in to Smash would probably get a few Doom players or some younger Doom players that probably shouldn't be playing Doom yet. They would probably be like, "Yo, I want to get Smash because Doom Guy's in it." Or,
Yeah, and that's a big aspect too, including these kind of third-party fighters in general as it is, because you're adding a lot of those characters, and a lot of people from those franchises are like, oh hey, I want to play this character, or oh hey, like I've never played Doom before. After I'm playing with this character, or since this character's been revealed, now I have to try out one of their games. I've done that with every Smash character that's really come out. I've at least tested it once. King K. Rool, we're seeing him right now. King K. Rool was revealed. I was like, you know what? I played Donkey Kong Country back in the day, but I never got to complete it. And I made sure it was my goal to actually play through Donkey Kong Country, the original, and at least beat King K. Rool and complete the game. Because I was like, you know what? I fucked up. But um, but that's a big aspect to this game in general, is that there's so much to it, and when you see those kind of characters, you kind of like, especially if you're really engulfed in the game like me, you're like, wow, I need to understand what this character's about. I need to know why people want him in the game in the first place, and experience that for myself.
Yeah, and there's definitely like some fighters in other franchises that I feel like fit in Smash. I think back when it was the Wii U, I think they had Skyrim come out on Wii U.
Not on
If
the
I'm
Wii
correct,
U.
correct me if I'm wrong. Or is it Switch?
It was the Switch, correct?
It was Switch. Okay. But yeah, like even if they put in like the Dovahkiin to Smash, like you could make it work, make it fit mechanically. It would be kind of weird. Like I wouldn't say I would say Doomguy would definitely would come before anything like that, or like the Dragonborn, or whatever. But they could even try to hit that female base by having a female character as it or skin. There's like could do with games like that, but it just comes down to licensing. And if they put in like Scorpion or Ermac, I'd be like, oh, I gotta play that character. Like, I'd be asking you, when can I come over and play your Switch so I can check out Scorpion on Smash?
Yeah,
Like,
that's another thing people have been requesting because they put Street Fighter characters in. There was talks about a Tekken fighter as well. Like Mortal Kombat would be another big fighting series that could and at that point should be represented in this game.
yeah, I mean they already have Ryu from Street Fighter and Capcom characters, and why not just expand on that? Start hitting up WB, who gets licensing commonly for a lot of different characters from other franchises. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure what it comes down to is money aspects. Like I don't think Nintendo probably makes all that much after initial sales on Smash, and that's probably what hinders them on trying to get these new characters in.
Yeah. All right, I believe I got all the DLC fighters here. Yep, or the spirits. I'm sorry. So yeah, I have every single spirit that's within the game, cause that's just how I roll.
Nice. I see that they added a Cuphead.
Oh yeah, did you not know? Yeah, they added the Cuphead's skin for the Mii Gunner, so you can actually play as Cuphead in the game technically.
That's cool.
I want to give you. I want to show you exactly what I mean by that too. Oh, you know who else I didn't get to check out, and I need to. No, I need to buy it through the shop. eShop. I'm gonna buy it real quick. That Vault Boy skin. So
Right,
yeah,
right. You're telling me about that.
yeah, the from Fallout. Anyone who's viewing the stream while I'm streaming or following after, if I decide to put this on YouTube, Fallout wasn't really a game that I have absolutely followed, but one of my good friends of mine who has unfortunately passed away was a big Fallout fan. If he had seen this shit when he was still here, he would have freaked the fuck out. I swear to God, if Dan was here right now, he would be losing his shit. So that's why I definitely have to pick granted, I've never been a Fallout fan myself, but for at least 75 cents, I gotta pick this character up or this skin up so I can test it out. As far as the eShop loading, it doesn't seem like it's going to. If it doesn't, I'll just show you how the other skins function as opposed to other ones. We'll see how this loads though.
Word. Yeah, I think after this, I have to unfortunately head off. I mean,
I figured, yeah, I already kept
Yeah.
you longer than I was supposed to, but I do thank you for being here with me. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into Smash. I'm gonna go into the tournament thing, and I'm gonna go to just a regular old map. Do Smashville.
yeah, I finished my my cocktail pre-batch. So yeah,
Did
I'm
you?
just yeah, I'm feeling good.
Just chilling.
Tired. Yeah.
Um,
Time to lay down.
So if you look here, these are a lot of custom-made characters. If you can see, this is based on Jim Carrey's Robotnik from the Sonic movie. But you can see that the head of the character follows the Mii itself. And that goes for a lot of characters, but then when you get to a character like Cuphead, is it actually uses Cuphead's head as the mask for the character. which is what a lot of people like, because a lot of people don't like having to rely on the fact that, oh, hey, let me use, for example, this is supposed to be Altair. This is an Altair skin from the Assassin's Creed series, but it still uses the skin of the me face for the character.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you look and you consider, where's the other one? Where's the other one? I should have him on here. Oh, look, here's the Soldier 76 one. I know you understand that one. I should have him on here.
Nice.
I might not. Here's a character like Knuckles. This is a great example of how you try to make it look like Knuckles, even though you have the whole stuff with it. But if you just made the mask, it would make it so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Skull Kid. No, do I not have the Sans costume? I could have sworn I bought it. Maybe I didn't, but you can see here, as opposed to using the me face, granted it shows like it does on this loading screen, it really does use, Cuphead's head.
Wow.
And that's cool because not many characters, very few, actually use that. They use that asset to make it more resemble that of Cuphead as opposed to just a me on a, particular skin. Like, this looks like Cuphead. This looks like Cuphead is in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you
I
can
could
even
see, like,
look how he
like
shoots his gun too. He uses his finger like in the game.
Yeah, that's perfect. And like,
Yeah.
I feel like they could probably do that with a lot of games too. If they didn't want to, it's probably not even a problem like trying to make all new movesets without breaking meta or whatever. But like if they didn't want to have to mess with any of the physics or anything like that, or like make custom physics for a specific character, then why not just make more skins like this for the Mii fighters?
Yeah, I've been saying that for years. Why can't you really make it seem like the character's in the game as opposed to making it, kind of cheap in that aspect? Like, for example, the Altair skin or even the Knuckles skin. Make it look like Knuckles. Make it look like Altair. Give it the Altair head. Give it the Knuckles head. Give it like an actual helmet that looks like it's actually Knuckles, like they're doing with all these other characters. It wouldn't be hard to implement by any means, especially when you consider that a lot of those assets are either spirits or they're just part of skins for a character. It's really not hard to implement or make at all, but unfortunately we know how some of these game companies are, and they don't kind of think about those kind of things. They don't think about pleasing their target audience.
Yeah, I think if it's on terms of like labor and like trying to save time and effort, then yeah, just reskin available characters. And like if their moveset seems like it might work for that character, then just reskin them. You add in a few more, not even really so much assets, but just like graphical updates for certain moves. And that's really all you have to do. Like you don't have to play with like damage values or anything or rebalancing, and it would save a ton of time, a ton of money. And why not just do it that way? Just focus on the art aspect of it.
Yeah, and that's one thing that Nintendo does is I'm sure I've noticed to you, and I'm sure you've seen that they have clone characters, but they've started calling them echo characters. For example, a great example of a clone character would be Marth versus Lucina. They basically function just about the same, but the properties of which Lucina uses certain moves are different than that of Marth. So, for instance, more of Marth's damage is on the tip of the sword, whereas Lucina's damage is balanced all throughout. So, yeah, Marth does more damage with his sword along the tip, but when it comes to him using at close range, he's not going to do as much damage. That's where Lucina is a lot better, is where it's a lot balanced, and she can do the same amount of damage regardless of where on the sword she's using to attack an opponent. And that's the kind of thing like that they try to implement with clones of other characters. A lot of people were speculating that Shadow the Hedgehog could be a great clone for Sonic in that aspect as well. Similar to how Ken and Ryu function, as they're both basically clones of each other and they have different movesets. But you're right. All it really takes is that kind of retexturing, and it's not hard to just give an extra skin for a character, and they've shown that they've done it before. A great example of this would be a character like Hero. Um, Hero is a DLC character that is from the Dragon Quest series that the character itself has several different skins based on a lot of the different characters from the series, a lot of the more favorited ones. So if we could check out Hero here, here's Hero from as his appearance in Dragon Quest 11, and do note that there are different heroes from the franchise as well. This is from Dragon Quest 3, this is from Dragon Quest 4, and this is from Dragon Quest 8, my personal favorite. Um, and then they have colors for the skins based on other characters itself. But how hard is it to really, put that skin, an extra skin in for a character like Sonic, where you make him look like Shadow? You put not just the texture on for his color, but you make him literally just look exactly like Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not hard at all. They show that with Young Link, where they make him like a dark Young Link, or Mario with his wedding outfit and his Mario Maker outfit. There's so much they can do, and it kind of feels like they're missing their mark because they are able to make those custom skins. And let's be honest, people like the ability of customizing their characters. People always have, and that's you see character or Nintendo itself is allowing for more customizability in a lot of its games. With Pokemon, with Mario now. Mario games never had customizability until Mario Odyssey, and now you can get all these different outfits, and you can make Mario look freaking cool.
Yeah, and you're totally right. Like, when it comes down to it, like skins alone, I hate microtransactions. That's like around in general. I hate microtransactions. But when it comes to skin customization, I usually end up caving, and I'll pay money for skins.
Yeah, because you
And
like how
that
it
was the case
looks.
with Riot.
It
Yeah, with
personalizes
Riot.
yourself. It makes it feel like you're. I don't want to say like it makes you the character, but it kind of makes it feel like the character's your own. Especially when you think it resembles you or it kind of follows a color scheme similar to yours, and what I don't know. Great example is like Overwatch. Like going back to Overwatch, there are a lot of times where I'm messing around and I'm like, wow, like I really think that this skin is really cool for this character. For a character like Roadhog, where I got that Islander skin, I just really like how it looked, and I'd be more than willing to spend $5 for a character just to make it feel like my own and make it feel unique in its own right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and like I would love to show you like how Riot, like the League of Legends company, they tackle like skins and customization really well. And what they do is they'll change particle effects and the way like a projectile will look entirely just to fit a skin, and it makes that like $10 skin, which you don't have to buy for $10. You can still unlock it now thanks to loot boxes that they recently added. But it makes it feel entirely worth every penny. And I think that's where a lot of these games like mess up is like, yeah, you can have skins. If you're putting them for free, I'm not going to expect much. But if you want to sell a $10 skin, like even with Blizzard, like their skins are kind of, I'm going to be honest, they're a little lackluster in compared to companies like Riot, who it seems like they almost make an entirely new character just by reskinning them. And yeah, like I would be way more inclined to pay money for like Blizzard, where to change particle effects of a move or whatnot. And I probably gave Riot easily $300 of my money on skins.
yeah,
But
that's a lot of money.
it is a lot of money, and it was over time, so like you don't really notice it
Yeah,
too
it's
much.
one of those. It's kind of like a mobile game in that aspect. Like Pokemon Go, I've spent a lot more money than I definitely should have, but that's over the course of 4 years now. Wow, that's weird. That's wild.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is like when you buy microtransactions, um, does it feel worth it 2 or 3 years later? And with League of Legends, I come back to the game every now and then. There's a lot of times where I end up hating it for a couple of years, and I'll go back, mostly because I spent money on it, and I'm like, I gotta get my money's worth. But then I start playing again, and I realize, it's kind of worth every penny. Like I go back to it and I'm like, I love showing off the skin. Like it's really cool. It's cool just to watch, even if I'm just playing to have fun.
Yeah, even
It's
years
just
later when you
nice.
finally revisit the game, it's like, oh, that's right, I had spent this money years back on just this skin. I'm glad I did it because now I have it.
Yeah, and like a game where your microtransactions don't feel like wasted money, that's a gem. Like that's how you know a company's doing something right with microtransactions. And I think Smash could hit the market for that so well.
Yeah,
And
it's
like
funny
I
you
would
say
pay
that
money.
because there's a lot of people who play Smash on a regular basis, like myself and other pros especially, who thinks that it's also a good idea. It's really not a bad marketing move. It's a great way to make some extra cash if you sell a skin for even $3 and you're like, oh, get this cool skin. Some people would kind of be annoyed at it, but that's what the market is really turning into is like microtransactions. They're already in Smash when you consider that, oh, hey, we have this me costume. And you can spend 75 cents on this me costume, but who even plays the Mii's anymore, right? If you suddenly add a skin for a character that people love, or maybe even don't love, but it's a main character like Mario, and you're like, hey, you know what? If you like Mario so much in Smash Bros, have this skin, then he can be I don't know, one of the freaking coolest skins he had in like one of his previous titles, like Mario Odyssey. Like, oh hey, you liked his wedding outfit, you liked his Mario Maker outfit. Let's put his cowboy outfit in the game from like Mario Party or something. People would eat that shit up, and they do it for all those
Hmm.
different characters.
Yeah, and if you like, I don't remember a lot of how like the Smash characters play, especially in Smash Ultimate, because I haven't played often. But any game where there's like a basic fist fighter, you switch out Little Mac like as a skin, and you change it out with like some other character from another game that's a fist fighter, like
Hmm.
similarly. You could probably make money off it as long as they have a good, solid franchise where there's followers. People would be like, yeah, I'm gonna buy that skin, and that's
Yeah,
also a way to influence the meta as well because people are like, I want to show off the skin, so I'm gonna play this character more.
yeah, absolutely. I know exactly. I feel the exact same way. I think that that's something that if Nintendo's trying to implement, if they want the extra money for microtransactions like that, regardless of whether or not it's the DLC or me costumes to that regard, just do something like that. It would be a lot smarter and a lot more appealing. A lot more people would be more willing to spend their money on something like that.
It would be so easy for them to take Samus and change it to a Master Chief skin. All they have to do is change the particle effects and the textures for the rocket.
Yeah.
You got Master Chief with a bazooka. Like that
You're not
easy.
wrong. I mean,
That easy.
in that regard, I'm sure that they would just instead make Master Chief his own character. But I know like what you mean for like as far as other non-major characters, whether or not they're related to a particular franchise or not. And that's just one thing that, like you said, Nintendo should recognize. And I don't know if they ever will, but because Nintendo's a different kind of company than say that of Blizzard or Riot. So
Hmm. Well, the thing is too is with Nintendo, I find them to be a pretty wholesome company with good morals, and I think what they try to avoid most of the time is the overuse of microtransactions, which I can respect.
oh,
But
absolutely.
I, as much as I hate them, microtransactions, not Nintendo. Um, not to, I respect Nintendo and the way that they're doing things, but I feel like the way times are going, microtransactions aren't going away, and they could benefit from. And I could see them being able to get the money or the resources needed to implement new characters that might be very interesting to add to the game. A lot easier if they just added in a skin every now and then that was like $10 or even a $5 skin would add up
Yeah,
for a
it
lot of
adds
players.
up
And
between all your players. It's the biggest fighting game on Switch. It's one of the biggest games on Switch in general. There's a market for it.
yeah, and the only thing they have to worry about is quality. Make that money feel worth it, and you're not going to get backlash.
Yep.
If you put a $30 price tag on a skin, you better make it feel like you're playing an entirely new game just to have that skin on.
Yeah.
and if you're not, you're gonna get backlash. It's bad PR if you mess that up. But yeah, put in a $5 Master Chief skin, reskin Samus, and call it a day. I'd probably even buy it. I don't even have the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Easy
end
marketing.
of day. Yep, very, very easy business. And Riot, the people backtalk Riot. There was a lot of recent issues with Riot from social standpoints, but the way that they did their microtransactions, they were one of the first big free-to-play games that I ever played on PC. But I could never give you an example of when they did it wrong. To where it felt like they were taking advantage of their community. And it says a lot. And every company after Riot has, at least from console gaming or PC gaming, I feel like they've always taken advantage of their company. You have companies like Activision, or their clients or community, and companies like Activision and EA. They are the biggest names in taking advantage
Yeah.
of their community
Oh
as
yeah.
possible.
You've
And
heard me
yeah.
say choice words about EA, especially.
Yeah, and stream on YouTube videos. I mean, I've seen it all on your channel. Sometimes it's a blessing to be a mod for you sometimes, because I hear it and I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, this is stuff we rant about privately.
Yeah.
And but it's true though. It's microtransactions isn't shady business. It's only shady business when you're giving out shady products,
Yeah.
or you're lying, or you're not marketing the way you should. Like, I could say stuff about the company I work for, and they are the biggest false marketers I've ever seen in my life. And it's because they'll say, I work in a food company. For anyone who doesn't know, which I'm pretty sure, hopefully none of you do. You
Not
don't
that
know
I
me. I
know
don't
of, at
stream
least.
often enough to disclose this information. So if you know it about me, there's something wrong. But yeah, I work in the food industry, and this company particularly, they're like, yeah, let's give this drink or food item a name that implies that it has these ingredients in it. But in fact, they're reusing or recycling old ingredients from old things, and claiming that it tastes like something that it actually doesn't. But they make hundreds of dollars on this brand new seasonal item, like probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales, just because it's a brand new item with a logo on it. And it amazes me that people don't notice it. And I feel like anyone that's a gamer that has an issue with microtransactions not living up to the price, they would be like, yeah, there's something wrong here. But I mean, it's a problem with a lot of things in society, especially American society. And that's probably what sets Nintendo apart as a company, is that they're not enveloped in our American society. But
Yeah, Nintendo of America is a thing, but let's be honest, a lot of the, decisions that Nintendo makes aren't from the American perspective. It's the Japanese perspective. A lot of the audiences for the games that they market, especially for the DLC, are mostly from the perspective of Japan's fan base. If we look at just the last DLC pass, especially, the only character that Western fans would really be familiar with, being us, of course, is Banjo. Banjo was made by Rare, which is an American company, whereas Joker was owned by Sega, a Japanese company. Hero, a huge Japanese IP, probably the most influential Japanese IP, and probably one of the most influential IPs in all video game history, was Dragon Quest, and it's so huge in Japan that they included him. Terry, another great example. I had never heard of Fatal Fury or King of Fighters prior to it being included in Smash this way. It was huge in Japan, and of course, I've played Fire Emblem, and Fire Emblem was a big, is a big IP and a big game, but so much more popular in Japan than it is in America. And then Min Min is from ARMS, which I can't say was really pushing either agenda, but when you really look at that last Fighters Pass, the only one that was really for, the American consumer or the American fan base was Banjo and Kazooie in that regard.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised too that they haven't tried to add anything from like an anime character to the game yet, which I guess it's because it stays true to the fact that like all the characters are from games made in Japan
yeah,
and that are strictly from game
yeah, and that's
stuff.
the main focus of Smash is that you think of a character like Goku, who is a very popular character from with that, like outside anime culture, is he's a very popular character in a lot of like nerd culture in general. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but even Sakurai said, Goku doesn't really have a place. He's not a video game character. He's like this is supposed to represent the coming together of different game series. Whereas Goku doesn't quite fit that description. Like, yes, there's video games of Goku, but when people think of Goku, they're not thinking about the games. They're thinking about Dragon Ball Z, the anime, and there are other games that really kind of encompass that, like Jump Force. Granted, Jump Force sucks, and I'm not going to sit here and defend Jump Force for being a good game. I feel like it could be if they made a franchise out of it, but not as much as it is. Okay. Regardless, though. I do want to say, that was a good discussion. I know that we can keep rambling on for a while.
Oh yeah.
I know you need to
This
sign
is why
off.
we do this late.
This is what we do at this time. It's 1:30 a.m. And we've already been streaming me playing this game for about an hour and 15 minutes. So in any case, anyone who's watching, I do want to thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. OsiBro, thank you very much for being here and having this discussion with me. It was really nice, a good change of pace than what we're normally used to. Anything you have to say to the group?
Not really. Anyone that knows that I have a channel. It's been pretty much inactive for a couple months, but I plan on coming back to it at some point, and especially for a 24-hour stream. It should be coming up in August, I think, right?
Yeah, that's actually a great way to introduce the fact that in August is actually our 10-year friend-anniversary, which is kind of weird to say and think, but yeah, it's a whole it's a whole decade. That's weird.
It is.
But yeah, we will be celebrating that with a nice. Did we say 24-hour stream? Yes, we did. We're gonna be doing a 24-hour stream, so do stay tuned for that. If you want some updates, of course, please do check my Twitter and/or my Facebook. I'll post it on both there, and then possibly on YouTube. I'll fill you guys in regardless of what happens. If you do want to follow OsiBro, of course, please be sure to follow. If you don't see, it is OsiBro on Twitch, correct?
Yeah, it's OsiBro.
Okay, I didn't know if it was OsiBro or something, familiar or relative to that. Regardless, though, if you do look in my recommended channels, OsiBro is one of the ones that's on there. So definitely, give OsiBro a look, subscribe. OsiBro streams a lot of different things as far as survival games like 7 Days to Die, to other fun games that we play on a regular basis. So do stay tuned for all that. So. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for watching me play Min Min, as broken as she might feel. Gotta say it was a blast. But yeah, guys, take care, and as always, happy gaming.